So, I was scrolling through my feed the other day, as you do, and I kept seeing this one woodworking tip pop up. It was everywhere. We're talking millions of views, hundreds of thousands of likes, and comment sections filled with people saying, "Wow, I never knew that." The video claimed to have a revolutionary shortcut that would save you a ton of time and effort on your next project. It looked so convincing, and honestly, a part of me really wanted it to be true. It's the kind of thing that makes you think, have I been doing this the hard way my entire life? But then the engineer in me kicked in. You see, on this channel, we don't just trust things because they look good on camera, we test them, rigorously. Because a cool-looking trick in a 30-second clip is one thing, but how does it hold up in the real world? Does it actually work, or is it just another piece of internet folklore that sounds good in theory but falls apart under pressure? I knew I couldn't just take their word for it, and I definitely couldn't recommend it to you guys without putting it through its paces first. So, I decided to build a proper, data-driven experiment to test not just one, but 3 of the most viral woodworking tips I could find. We're going to separate the facts from the fiction, the genuinely useful hacks from the potentially disastrous myths. I'm talking controlled variables, side-by-side comparisons, and maybe even a few slow-motion shots of things breaking in spectacular fashion. Because the only thing better than learning a new trick is knowing for sure that it actually works. Let's get to it. Alright, first up is a big one I see constantly. Sanding past 220 grit is a complete waste of time. The logic seems sound, right? Your hand can't feel the difference, so why bother going up to 320, 400, or even higher? It promises to save you so much time and sandpaper. To test this, I grabbed 2 identical pieces of beautiful walnut, a wood known for its gorgeous grain. My goal was to treat them exactly the same in every single way, except for that final sanding step. This is our control group versus our experimental group. So, I got to work. Both boards were planned to the same thickness and cut to the same size. I started sanding them both, working my way up through the grits. 80 grit, then 120, then 180. At each stage, I made sure the scratch patterns from the previous grit were completely gone. This is where the test begins. Board A, our viral tip board, stopped right here at 220 grit, just like the videos recommend. For board B, our go the extra mile board, I kept going, progressing all the way up to a superfine 400 grit. After the sanding was done, I held them up, side by side. And you know what? The viral tips seemed to be holding up. Visually, they looked almost identical. If you ran your hand over them, board B felt slightly smoother, like polished stone, but it wasn't a night and day difference. I thought, okay, maybe there's something to this. It seemed like a lot of extra work for a barely perceptible improvement. I could see why people would be tempted to stop at 220 and call it a day. The real test, however, isn't how it looks raw. It's how it looks after the finish is applied. This is the moment of truth. I grabbed a can of oil-based polyurethane, which is great at making wood grain pop. I applied a nice, even coat to both boards simultaneously, and instantly, the difference was staggering. Board A, the one sanded to 220, looked good, don't get me wrong, the grain was nice. But Board B looked incredible. The finish had soaked in so evenly, and it had this depth and clarity, a 3-dimensional quality that just wasn't there on the other board. The finer sanding on board B created a more uniform surface, allowing the finish to reflect light perfectly. So, is the tip a myth? Well, it's more like a half-truth. On board A, you could still see some very fine, almost microscopic scratches from the 220 grit paper, which became visible once the finish highlighted them. They slightly muddied the grain. For a shop project or something that's going to get beat up anyway, stopping at 220 is totally fine. But for a piece of fine furniture, a tabletop, or anything where you want that wow factor, taking those extra 10 minutes to sand to a higher grit is absolutely 100% worth it. It's the difference between good and gallery quality. Okay, next up is a tip that honestly sounds a little sketchy from the get-go. The type of wood glue you use doesn't matter, as long as you have enough clamping pressure. The idea is that if you squeeze the two pieces of wood together hard enough, the wood fibers themselves will interlock, and the glue is just there to fill the gaps. People claim you can use cheap generic glue and get a bond that's just as strong as the expensive stuff. This one felt not just wrong, but potentially dangerous. A failed glue joint on a shelf is an annoyance. On a chair, it could be a disaster. To put this to the test, I set up a classic wood strength experiment. I took two pieces of maple and prepared them for a simple butt joint, one of the weakest joints in woodworking, making it perfect for testing the glue's true strength. For our control, I used a high-quality, tight-bond 3-wood glue, known for its incredible strength and water resistance. For our test subject, I used a basic, all-purpose white craft glue you might find at a dollar store. It's sticky, sure, but it's not formulated for the stresses of woodworking. I applied the respective glues to each joint. The Titebond 3 had a nice, thick consistency, while the craft glue was a bit runnier. Then came the clamping. I followed the viral tip's advice to the letter, applying an enormous amount of clamping pressure to both joints. I cranked those clamps down until the wood fibers were audibly compressing and a lot of glue squeezed out. According to the theory, this immense pressure should be the great equalizer, making both joints equally strong. I let them cure for a full 48 hours, way more than the recommended time, just to be sure. Once the clamps were off, both joints looked solid from the outside. The squeeze-out had hardened, and they felt like a single piece of wood. Now, for the fun part, the destructive test. I set up a rig in my workshop that would allow me to apply a slow, measurable amount of force to the center of the joint until it failed. This is where we separate the internet myth from the engineering reality. I started with the Titebond 3 joint. I began applying pressure, and the numbers on my force gauge started climbing. 100 pounds, 200, 300. The wood itself started to bend and groan. Finally, with a loud crack, it broke. But here's the crucial part. The joint didn't fail at the glue line. The wood fibers themselves tore apart. This is what you want to see. It means the glue bond was actually stronger than the wood itself. Now for the craft glue joint. I put it in the rig and started applying pressure. The numbers climbed, 50 pounds, 75, and then with a pathetic little snap, it gave way. It failed at less than a third of the force of the other joint. And when I looked at the break, it was a perfectly clean shear right along the glue line. The wood was completely intact. This tip isn't just false, it's dangerous. Glue matters. A lot. After that last test, I needed a win. So, for our final viral tip, I picked one that seemed genuinely clever. Use painter's tape to get perfectly clean glue-ups without any squeeze-out to clean up. If you've ever done a complex glue-up, you know the pain. You spend all this time getting your joints perfect, and then you have to deal with sticky glue oozing out everywhere, getting into corners, and potentially staining the wood. The cleanup can take longer than the assembly, honestly. This trick promises to eliminate that headache entirely. Here's how it's supposed to work. Before you apply any glue, you lay down a strip of painter's tape along both edges of the joint. Then, you apply your glue as you normally would, assemble the pieces, and clamp them together. The excess glue squeezes out onto the tape instead of the wood. The really clever part is that while the glue is still wet, you just peel the tape away, and it takes all the messy squeeze out with it, leaving a perfectly clean, sharp glue line. It sounds almost too simple and too good to be true. I decided to test this on a mitered corner, which is notoriously difficult to clean up. I got my two pieces of oak cut to a perfect 45-degree angle. Following the instructions, I carefully applied blue painter's tape right up to the edge of the joint on both pieces. I then applied a healthy bead of wood glue, making sure to get good coverage. I brought the two pieces together, clamped them securely, and watched as the excess glue squeezed out, just as expected. But this time, instead of a sticky mess on my beautiful oak, it was all sitting neatly on top of the blue tape. I held my breath a little. This was the critical moment. You have to pull the tape while the glue is still wet. If you wait too long, the glue will harden and either rip out wood fibers or tear the tape, leaving an even bigger mess. So, I carefully grabbed the edge of the tape and started to peel it back at a low angle. It was one of the most satisfying moments I've had in the workshop. The tape lifted away perfectly, and underneath was a flawless, clean corner. There was no smearing, no residue, nothing. It was perfect. I have to admit I was genuinely surprised and impressed. I've spent countless hours scraping and sanding away dried glue, and this simple 2-minute trick completely eliminates that step. This tip is 100% true, and it's a certified game changer. It not only saves you a ton of cleanup time but also prevents the risk of water-based glues sealing the wood pores, which can cause blotchiness when you apply a finish. This one is definitely going into my permanent woodworking playbook. It's a simple, elegant solution to a common, frustrating problem. So what did we learn today? We saw that some viral tips are half-truths, some are flat-out dangerous, and some are genuinely brilliant. And that really highlights the problem with a lot of the woodworking advice you see online. A tip might look amazing in a short video, but most of the time, it's only been tested once, under perfect conditions, and you never see how it holds up after weeks, months, or years of real-world use. They show you the hack but not the consequences. That glue joint might hold for the video, but will it hold when your kid decides to stand on the chair? Woodworking isn't really about finding the ultimate shortcut for everything. It's a craft that rewards patience and understanding your materials. The real skill is in knowing where shortcuts are safe and effective, like using the tape trick, and knowing where they'll compromise the quality and safety of your work, like using the wrong glue. It's about building a foundation of knowledge, so you can look at a viral tip and critically assess it for yourself, instead of just blindly trusting it because it has a million views. So next time you see a woodworking tip that seems too good to be true, ask yourself, has this really been tested, or did someone just film themselves doing it once? Think about the science behind it, and if this video saved you from making a potentially costly or dangerous mistake, do me a favor and hit that like button so more people can see it. More importantly, if you've seen a viral woodworking tip that you're skeptical about, comment it down below. I'm always looking for new myths to bust, and your suggestion might just be the star of my next video.